Namaste and welcome again to the Poetry Lab on our Auroveda channel. Not just our channel, your channel too. Those of you who love poetry and, well, the power of words, the beautiful world of the imagination, please do join us, send in your comments. And we are continuing with our reading of Satya, this collection of poems dedicated to the father of the poet who is with us. Welcome, Dr. Singh.
Namaste. Well, thank you.
And can we read cover now, page 36?
Cover.
Cover to cover. We're going to do this book cover to cover.
Cover. No backup this time. And backup for backups. You are the king of ensuring nothing ever failed. Every possible mishap covered. Every possible slip up had a fail safe backup. I still remember more than 3 decades ago when I landed in New Delhi at 1 a.m. I had 3 people at the airport to pick me up, all of whom you had sent. I left with the first one I saw. Others kept waiting until wee hours, till it dawned on them that I was gone. My sister-in-law's father, your close friend who lived nearby, in a rental cab, each blackened the night, ensuring that I was not stranded. We had no cell phones then, no texts. None knew of the other in the parking lot along the vagrant highway in the tremulous fall. But everything was numbered for you and fail-proof as digital math. Now I gaze at a stranger in your picture's face. Did you realize finally that there was no need for my security any longer? Or did you yet leave me one, that final cover? That excessive care above, that hides below.
Wonderful. So, once again, I will ask you about the title first. The word cover normally suggests something that is covered up, that is hidden underneath. And the poem also suggests that there is a hidden security underneath that cover. But to me, actually, the word cover is like an insurance cover. You see, the suggestion is not of a book cover, but the insurance cover. Like, how much are you covered for? We always talk about in this country, especially in the United States, how much are you covered for? The liability, the fail safe, as you called it, and that comes from his being, a top administrator. When you had to get something done, especially in an uncertain kind of unreliable world where people let you down and then you can't hold them up beyond a point, you always have a backup. But in this case, and we talked about it in the last discussion we had on the previous poem, how the dad wants to make sure that the son is protected, almost under all circumstances. And here he's thinking, it's coming after a long flight from the US. The plane lands in the wee hours of the morning, as you said, 1 a.m. By the time you get out, clear, get your baggage, clear customs, step out into an unfamiliar world, with all these faces, everyone asking you to join them for a ride, you don't know where. So he wanted to make sure that if one person failed, there was another one. And here you said, and another one. You see? So so let's talk a little bit about the title cover, Dr. Singh, first of all.
Yeah, it's as you pointed out, it has to me various meanings. Of course, the cover of a protective influence, as you said, the cover of insurance. Cover is to hide. Cover is also backing each other up, and he was a master of backup. There was no allowance for errors. Mistakes could not happen. If a mistake happened, then there was something to ensure that it was taken care of. That's how he was as an administrator. And as I said, he was a very methodical, systematic man. Everything was figured out. And we used to make fun of him. This was a very funny situation that happened where people were calling him in the morning to looking for me, or everything worried. Two people worried about what happened to me. Where did I disappear? And we're talking about 95, 90, 92, when we had no cell phones. As you know, we were growing up in Delhi. The airport was smogged and you could barely see, and it was not the uplifted airport as we see today, and parking lots and all. No, you just came out and cars were just parked by the road. And how did you find people? So they are calling him in the morning, and he then called my bhabhi's father, who had picked me up. And then finally they all realized at 7 that I was fine. But it was a funny thing for us. And the question then is, then where is your cover now? You're gone. Your cover is gone. Where is your backup? And then suddenly the realization that the backup is a different kind of a backup this time. That is hidden, that is itself covered, and that is somewhere ingrained within, somewhere in a subtle psychic aspiration that he has left. That is the final protection. And that probably is the best protection, and almost an eternal protection of the love of a father for his son. So
See,
that's
yeah, you're absolutely right. You also brought in a very interesting dimension to the title, which also, of course, has now I now covered, so to speak, the entire poem, which is, will you cover for me? So there's a backup idea, there's a protective idea that you want someone to, who has your back, or you have to go out on an emergency. Will you cover for me? That sort of thing. So, and the insurance cover,
yes,
what kind of coverage do you have
yeah,
against liability, right? If you end up in some sort of mishap. And as you said, the last part of it, the hidden cover, you go to people's homes in India, we never usually have photos of the living, because it's not considered auspicious, but except maybe a wedding picture by the bedside or whatever. But you do have photos of the deceased. And the idea is that there's a protective presence of your elders. And many of us in India also put these pictures in our puja room along with our deities. So it's a sort of form of ancient ancestor worship, if you will. In Karnataka, speaking of Karnataka, there are communities who, bury their, dear departed in their own land, so that the idea is that you never lose your land, because they're there guardians of your, as it were, your wealth, as well as the basis of your livelihood, especially the land owning and farming communities. They have that tradition. So let me ask you about, 2 or 3 points here, which is more thematic, right? You do talk about, you know, we get to know the character, the personality of, uh, you know, uh, Dr. Satyanarayan Singh, who is your father, but also like a character in this collection, right? And the character or the protagonist, the speaker also. So there is that interplay of these two, characters. Now, you say here, for example, that now I gaze at a stranger in your picture's face. Why has he become a stranger?
because the first time the realization hit that he's not the name and the form, he was never the name and the form. I was stuck with this surface appearance, but that is gone, and that name and form has scattered, disappeared, gone. But who is my father? Where was that the father, or is the father somewhere else? And sometimes, if you look at your own face in the mirror, or you look at something so well known, but you suddenly realize, who is this person I'm looking at? Because psychologically, we have a different picture of the person, and then physically, suddenly it's a different, perhaps in our psyche, we see it better, more luminous, more intimate. And then we suddenly see, oh, but there's a name and a form, and it does not match what I feel. So having reached that, letting go of that name and form, suddenly I realized that that was not my father. There was something else. And what that was, obviously, is difficult to say because you don't have a name and form. But that was a stranger. It was not who he was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, that estrangement and familiarity with those who are very close to us is I think, fundamental part of our own overcoming our identification, with ourselves, our bodies, because we are all, in that sense, again, from the Vedic point of view, we're not confined to what appears to be who we are. And that defamiliarization through another person sometimes is the trigger that, oh, I never knew who he was. And, there was so much to him that I wasn't even aware of. I only saw him as this, so to speak, control freak, fail safe, mathematically precise, has to get everything right. But you know what? Now his protection is way beyond that. It's like something so subtle that I can't even name it. And that escape from identity, along with the, I think, very strong memories of an identity. I think this is the
Yeah.
paradox. So let me just now come to that final point that did you realize finally that there was no need for my security any longer? That defamiliarization occurs at that point of transition where he finally feels, okay, my son is through. He's really made it, or whatever, my protective cover is no longer needed. It may still be there, but, he's really come into his own.
It's our tradition, and something, that was very consciously brought to me when he was ready to go, was that a soul or Atman, Jivatman, does not leave until it is ready. When it decides, there's nothing you can do. But when its dharma is done, it leaves, and we don't know what all things it has to do. You would think some loose ends are there, but for that Jivatma, there is no loose end. But there are certain things it has to do and close up and then go. We don't understand it, we don't know it fully, but it seems like there were certain things he had to close before he had to leave. And the question is, were you comfortable? Were you somewhere? Did you know that now your son is okay? You don't have to protect him anymore? Or did you give him a protection anyway, something even deeper, something even greater as you left? So that's a question that comes, and the realization that now actually the protection is deeper and greater than the structured, calculated, intellectual protection that I got, because that protection always has holes. You cannot account for all the things that could go wrong, right? In the pratitya samutpan of existence, you don't know what's going to go wrong at any moment. But now that inner protection, where I can't even identify who he is, he's not even my father anymore, that inner protection seems even stronger. So that,
Wow. No, that's very profound. Thank you. And it's true in our own lives that, all the obvious protections notwithstanding, life can throw you a curveball, but the deeper protections, it's almost like a time release medicine, it it gives you the strength just when you need it. And I'm reminded, I'll end on this episode on this anecdote. I once was invited actually to somebody's home, and there was a puja room there. And as soon as I entered the puja room, in fact, the priest in that house, it was a kind of royal family household, and they hardly ever took people into their puja room since it was very private. And they invited me there, and as soon as I went in there, I felt this tremendous energy there. And so the Purohit, the priest himself, was showing me, and each of the deities was shining, and the yantras were there, the photos of the gurus and everything. So I said, wow, somebody must have really done tapascharya here. And they said, it is the case. Rani Sahiba used to spend hours worshipping and meditating here, to the extent that her husband used to come and knock and say, come out, enough, you know. And then I said, I just asked him, I asked the Panditji, I just said, अच्छा, so इसका कोई फायदा है? I mean, I said, इसका कोई उपयोग है? Is it really, I mean, she did this and she's gone now, right? He said, हाँ, वो धीरे धीरे काम करता है, So it's all there. It's all like ठूस ठूस के भरा हुआ है. तो जब जरूरत पड़ती है, so it's
Yes.
like that cover, the insurance cover, that it's there in a
Yes.
way that you don't know, and when you
Yes.
need it, it manifests itself.
Yeah. That's what happens. Some psychic protection is left. Something somewhere that is needed, most essential, most elemental.
Very good. And we would like to leave that for our own future generations as well. Thank you for
Yep.
joining us. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and you're welcome to join us in our next episode again on Satya, this wonderful book of poems with Dr. Parikshit Singh. Thank you and see you soon. Namaste.